Today we're doing a review for Battlecruisers, so it's all hands to battle stations, return fire, and sink that enemy ship. I really love these small bite-sized gaming experiences. They just keep you coming back time and time again on harder and harder difficulties. I spent way too many hours playing games like Carrier Deck and Train Valley 2 than I really care to admit. But Battlecruisers joins that group trying to get all 4 stars on every map, and I think that's a good thing. The story is set in the 22nd century, where Earth is flooded by rising sea levels, and foes have to compete for receding pits of land. The gameplay loop is pretty simple. Each side starts with an empty battlecruiser, and you have to build up on it in order to defend yourself and launch attacks to destroy the enemy cruiser. Upon defeating the enemy on each level, you unlock a new piece of equipment or a vessel design. So over the 25 levels, that's quite a lot of gear and ships to unlock. And across those 25 levels, you're also going to fight 7 different bosses. I have to say, I never noticed the difference between a boss fight versus a normal level, but it didn't mean I didn't enjoy every level that I played. I was thinking maybe the design of the bosses should have been more unique. Each one given a unique ability or a one-off ship design, something with much more firepower. I think this would have given the boss fights something more memorable, that each one had a special ability or build chain. For example, a large aircraft carrier that deployed tons of bombers, so I had to tailor my defenses to anti-air rather than just my standard array of 1 or 2 air defenses. So the equipment you're rewarded with falls into 5 categories: factory, defense, offense, and ultras. You start off with every level with an empty ship and 2 builders, and all the equipment has a minimum number of builders to start construction. Most games start off with a mad rush to get as many builders into play as possible, so that you can start building multiple things and quickly repairing any damage your vessel takes. The first level sets you off on a tutorial that quickly and efficiently introduces you to all you need to know. It holds your hand through the first encounter, showing your camera controls and starting equipment. Before long, you're deflecting incoming rockets while launching ship and air raids on your opponent. The reason that future cruiser unlocks are important is that each design has a limited number of construction points for different types of equipment. You're limited to 1 ship construction port, 2 or 3 ultra or factory spots, a couple of antenna spots, and several building spots, with a mix of different weapons throughout the vessel. This leads to a good progression through improving the vessel and upgrades. You feel rewarded in some way for every level you complete. Eventually you unlock all the ships and upgrades, making the early designs rather useless, because as you guessed it, that final design has the most build slots, so therefore will be the most powerful vessel when fully loaded. So let's look at some of the different types of things we can build under factories, defense, offense, tactical, and ultras. So under the factories, we have a ship factory that allows us to build waves of attack vessels all the way up to destroyers with longer and longer attack ranges, an aircraft factory which allows the construction of bombers to target the enemy ship, fighter planes to patrol the skies, and anti-ship in order to take care of the incoming vessels. You can also build builder bays. This increases the number of builders on the vessel, which is important because, as we mentioned earlier, there's a minimum number of builders required to build certain items. Next, that moves on to defense, and it's pretty typical. We've got anti-ship turrets, anti-ship mortars with a longer range, anti-air cannons, and a sand battery, and then the unique thing is the Tesla coil. The coil tries to hit incoming rockets from the other cruiser, so as you get into later game, it becomes more important that one of your build locations has a Tesla coil. So now we look at the offensive capabilities that directly attack the enemy battlecruiser. We have artillery, which is the first one you unlock. There's no defense to this weapon, it just fires a large projectile, but the accuracy can vary. We have a laser cannon that fires a direct beam, which means it doesn't always have the ability to destroy everything that's built on an enemy target, on an enemy cruiser that is. And then we have the rocket launcher. So this is a very powerful long range, and it fires 3 projectiles up in the air, and they do area damage when they hit the vessel, but they can be intercepted with a Tesla coil. And then we have the tactical equipment. So they have a shield that creates a dome around 50% of the vessel if placed correctly, so often you have to put 1 at the front and 1 at the back of the vessel. We have a booster which builds up the speed of which the shield regenerates and the fire rate of nearby equipment. A stealth generator which generates a cloak so the enemy can't see what you're building, which is a little peculiar given the fact that we just have AI we're fighting against here. Spy satellite, which gives you the ability to see through a cloak, and then a control tower that increases the aircraft speed. Then we get to the ultras. This is the best equipment in the game. They're built with long build times, 300 seconds to 600 seconds, and one of them's called a Death Star launcher. It launches a satellite into high orbit that flies over to the enemy vessel, and it cannot be defended against unless you destroy the launcher platform on the enemy vessel. There's a nuke launcher. Once it's launched, it's completely unstoppable. It's an instant win. We have the Ultralisk, which is a way to boost your building capability by giving you 10 builders and making you a basically unstoppable building machine for aircraft and for ships. A Kamikaze Tower. This tells all the aircraft in the sky to perform a kamikaze run, which to me seems like a waste of aircraft. But then, you know, it helps if you're trying to just get that last little piece of damage in. And then the last one is the Broadsiders. This is basically 3 artillery units in one, so it does a lot of damage, but again suffers from accuracy. For the most part, all of the equipment is very well balanced. As you progress through the levels, you can unlock more and more things that keep becoming more powerful than the item before. There is a meta that forms leading to the harder difficulties where you have to build the correct equipment to counter the enemy. Is the enemy sending mostly aircraft? Then I need a lot of air defense. The best strategy seems to be a strong defense is the basis of a strong offense. On normal difficulty, you can build out an early strike, and in some levels, that's really easy to do. But on hard, you just can't do that because you can't outbuild the computer. A good example of this was when playing on hard mode, the computer first built a ship factory. I can't counter this quick enough, so I had to build a cheap turret, and I just kept repairing it until I could get a strong enough defense and get to a position that allowed me to strike out with the most powerful units and ultras in the game. After completing the levels once, you get to keep the unlocks and use them when you're playing on the harder difficulties. This is a great way to encourage replayability. As I played the levels on hard, it really showed you need the latest equipment as the AI just had such a large advantage on build speed. But this also brings me to my biggest question. How come I can't battle my friends? This game seems tailor-made for that 1v1 battle. Last ship standing, let's go. The conclusion of the cloak suggests to me that at some point it was considered, because it's completely useless against the AI. So here's hoping that in the future the developers add multiplayer as a free update. So here's my final thoughts. Like I stated at the beginning, this game has now joined the ranks of those relaxing, replayable games that you just need to get perfect on every level. The art style being hand-drawn is amazing, the sound effects and meta is great in its execution, and this small indie developer has managed to pull off a great start to this game. Not to mention the music is really peaceful when you're listening to it. I'd like to see more levels, unique bosses and multiplayer, but for the price of $6, I'm easily going to enjoy several hours of fun mastering all these great levels.